Hello, everyone, and welcome back to From the Stands, the college football game day show. My name is Brian McCardle. Alongside me, as always, Mr. Andy Hopper to my left, Mr. Tom Scavetta to my right. This is the part one of the bowl game show. We got a lot of bowl games on the card this year. We're going to do 19 here for you. A lot of action coming up. We got three shows on the docket. This one, a part two, and then, of course, our first round playoff games coming right at you. But we got 19 on this card for you, so we're going to jump right into the action here. Starting off with the Celebration Bowl. This will be the December 14th through 27th bowls. If you're watching this after the start, obviously just check down in the timeline. I will put the little note down there so you can jump right in the timeline to each game if those games have passed. But starting off with the first one here, we have Jackson State taking on South Carolina State in the Cricket Celebration Bowl. An early one for the 14th. It's a nooner, Andy. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, so the Celebration Bowl, this is the HBCU National Championship game. You have Jackson State, the winner of the SWAC, versus South Carolina State, the winner of the MEAC, matching up in the Celebration Bowl. So this will be the second time that these two teams have faced off in this bowl game specifically. If you remember back in 21, South Carolina State, I believe, came to the game like 6-5 and knocked off the Coach Prime-led Jackson State Tigers in a shocking upset. I'm not sure that happens again. I know South Carolina State actually favored in this game, but they're on their backup quarterback. Give me the Tigers.
All right, Tom?
Both teams did well in their respective conferences this year. You know, Irv Mulligan's very solid on the ground, but I like South Carolina State's receiver, Caden Hyatt. I think he's tall. I think he's physical. I know Jacobian Morgan left the SWAC championship with an injury. They also lost Zy McDonald due to cramps. I'm going the other way. Give me South Carolina State on this one.
All right, yeah. Like you said, those injuries obviously gonna affect Jackson State here. They did overcome a bit in the SWAC Conference Championship game, though. After that injury, Zy McDonald comes off the bench, rushes for 95 yards, passes for 75. That gets him 2 touchdowns on the card, brings them to victory. Running back Irv Mulligan, the 2024 SWAC Player of the Year. He's 5'10", 205 pounds, and he was a Walter Payton Award finalist. Just want to shout him out. Mulligan passed Jackson State and NFL great Walter Payton's single season rushing yard record this season. So congratulations to him. That's a cool record to break there for the HBCU running back. I'm going to go Jackson State here in this one. Next up, we have the Veterans Bowl. This is Western Michigan taking on South Alabama. This is your 9 p.m. here on December 14th. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, we got two 6-6 teams coming in here. The Jaguars are 7.5-point favorites. South Alabama dropped their last game of the year. WMU coming off a victory to become bowl eligible. Gio Lopez for the Jaguars has been really good. 2,559 yards, completing 66% of his passes, 18 tutties and only 5 interceptions. He can hurt you on the ground too with 465 rush yards and 7 scores. Look for him to hook up with Jamal Pritchett through the air for a score and the Jags to win the game.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I'm with Andy on this one. Home field advantage for the Jaguars. Pritchett, excellent receiver, good hands, quick feet. Give me South Alabama.
Yeah, obviously South Alabama, coached by Major Applewhite. Some will recognize that name there. He led them to a bowl 6-6 season, so not the greatest, but they are in there. They go up against the Western Michigan defense that is ranked 109th in the FBS. So not great in terms of scoring defense here. South Alabama can produce freshman running back. Incredible name, Fluff Boltwell. He had
hell yeah.
he had 832 yards, 13 touchdowns for Mr. Fluff. He's going to have an impact here. I'm taking South Alabama, and I think they win pretty big here. Moving on to the next one. We're jumping forward a few days to December 17th. This is Memphis taking on West Virginia and the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl at 9 p.m. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, you have a 10-2 Memphis team taking on West Virginia at 6-6. 6-6. Memphis coming in to this one, maybe feeling a little bit disappointed despite that 10-win season. They had a spot in the AAC title game, all but locked up, but they fell to Navy and UTEP, found themselves on the outside looking in. WVU coming off a 6-win campaign, but they just fired head coach Neil Brown. Do they get to the interim head coach bump? I don't think so. Give me Memphis to win their 4th straight bowl game. West Virginia bringing back Rich Rod. Cue the Matthew McConaughey Lincoln commercial meme. Sometimes you got to go back to move forward, my friends. Will he coach the bowl game? I don't think so. But either way, I like Memphis.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, there's probably going to be players and coaches that we mentioned that may just be completely non-existent for these teams by the time these games hit, because we were filming this, obviously, before all these start. Tom, who do you like here?
Interesting name for this bowl, Scooter's Coffee Frisco, being that the game starts at 9 o'clock at night. Not sure who drinks coffee at 9 o'clock at night. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see how West Virginia responds post the Neil Brown firing. Garrett Green still starting as of now, but I love Seth Hennigan through the air. He's had a really good year. They're a tough physical team, Memphis is. Mario Anderson Jr. on the ground has 17 scores. This one's hard to pass up. I like Memphis and the spread.
Yeah, the interim coach thing is always hard to figure out. You never know if it's something that the players are going to enjoy and it's going to give them a bump, a little bit of a boost, or if they're just going to be super down and depressed that their head coach is no longer. But yeah, QB Garrett Green plagued with interceptions this season. You guys know how much I hate that. But yeah, other side, Memphis just says they've got some weapons. They're the better team. They got the better record. They're an offensive powerhouse year in and year out. Seth Hennigan, 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns. And then running back, Mario Anderson, he's been good as well. 1,292 yards, 17 touchdowns. That's a dynamic tandem right there for the Tigers. I think they put points on the board. I'm going Tigers here as well. Next up, moving into the 18th, we have the Boca Raton Bowl. This is James Madison taking on Western Kentucky. Andy, give us your thoughts here.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one here, guys. Both teams will be without their starting quarterbacks in this game. JMU is looking for their first FBS bowl win and would certainly feel good for them after barely missing out on the Sun Belt Championship game with that 35-33 loss to Marshall at home, by the way. That was a tough one for them. WKU, they're playing in their 6th straight bowl game and looking for their 5th win in those games. Pretty solid record there for the Hilltoppers in the postseason. They are coming off a 40-point loss to Jackson State in the Conference USA title game. It was never close. Can they bounce back with their 3rd quarterback of the year? TJ Finley, the guy that has been pretty much everywhere in college football, he is in the portal again after getting hurt and benched. Connor Feldkamp, his replacement, has entered the portal, will not play in this game. Give me the Dukes. I think JMU wins this one.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, Andy covered that perfectly. One other note, too. Western Kentucky, they lost that bowl game by 40 points, but they beat Jacksonville State the week before. I mean, that makes it even worse. They're on a downturn right now. Give me James Madison.
Yes, they are. Let's see here. This is kind of an interesting game, but I think I'm going to go James Madison. They're looking for the first bowl win in school history. Obviously, like you guys said, they've lost their last 2 games, but Kentucky is coming off the loss to Jacksonville State, where they got absolutely creamed in the Conference USA championship game, 52-12. It was a rematch. Those are sometimes difficult to prep for, but a 40-point loss is not the way you want to be trending there. Duke's QB Alonzo Barnett III, he was clinical this season with his passing. So despite the late season losses, I'm going to take JMU here as well. Next up, in the 18th, you get a big heaping helping of Gronk's face here. Every year he has put his face on the bowl game graphic. Love it. UNLV taking on Cal in the LA Bowl. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, so this is going to be another fun one, guys. Cal comes into this game actually as a 2.5-point favorite, despite being only 6-6 and going up against the 10-3 run Rebs. Tough loss for them in the Mountain West title game, that 21-7 loss there to Boise State. Malik Williams was bad in that game, guys, especially through the air. I was not impressed. 13 for 28, 110 yards, no scores, and an interception. He did go for 90 yards on the ground, so he was able to help there, but he left so many of his receivers out to dry with overthrown, underthrown balls. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. The Rebels also just lost their head coach, Barry Odom. He's coming to the Big Ten to take over Purdue. Cal won't have it easy as well. Their starting quarterback, Francisco Mendoza, has entered the portal, leaving the Bears looking for answers at quarterback. Give me the Rebels.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, look, Andy mentioned it. The Rebels coming off a tough loss to Boise State. Ricky White II is still playing as of now for them. He's a 1,000-yard receiver. Dan Mullen is the new coach at UNLV. Not coaching the bowl game, I'd imagine. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in this game because UNLV did end the season ranked. But Andy mentioned Mendoza's in the portal. This is one of those games where, backup to a backup story. Can they pull off the upset? They can't. That's why there's a 4-win differential. Give me UNLV.
Yeah, so Barry Odom does leave, obviously, to take that Purdue job. Understandable. So Dale Alexander will be in charge. They come off that loss in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. Yeah, it wasn't a great showing from Malik Williams. I was kind of happy about it because I had Boise State in my parlay. I don't think watching him this season since he's taken over, I don't think this is a type of thing that's going to happen twice in a row. So I think they're safe there. UNLV star wide receiver Ricky White, like you said, not sure if he's going to be playing or not. It's rumored that he might just be opting out to hit the portal. So we'll see how that goes. Cal, they allowed 32 points per game in their last 4 games of the season, 2 of those resulting in losses. So down the stretch, not great. There's been a lot of holes in that defense. I'm not really sure how they're favored here. Maybe they just expect a lot of UNLV players to opt out that we don't know about. But I still like UNLV here, so I'm going with the Ribs. Next up, moving into December 19th here, we have the New Orleans Bowl. It is Sam Houston taking on Georgia Southern. Andy, give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, you got a 9-3 Sam Houston team and Georgia Southern at 8-4. I think the big matchup here for me is the quarterbacks, J.C. French for Georgia Southern and Hunter Watson for the Bearcats. These are 2 veteran guys that have led their teams to pretty outstanding seasons by these 2 schools' standards, right? I mean, who's able to limit the mistakes, make a couple big plays. I think the big thing to remember here, this is only Sam Houston's 2nd year in the FBS, and they have the opportunity to win 10 games. They are without Casey Keeler, their head coach that had been there for 10 years, won a lot of games at the FCS level, have led them through this transition. He's now gone. He's going to go to Temple. Good luck. But give me Georgia Southern. I think French in the offense will be too much. I mean, I think he goes for 250 plus through the air, and the Eagles win this game.
All right, Tom.
Valiant effort from Sam Houston this season, those Bearcats, but J.C. French has had a good season. Chance Gamble, 3 interceptions. Take a chance, make a gamble. Georgia Southern wins.
All right. Yeah, Sam Houston, another one of these schools, first bowl game in school history under second-year head coach Casey Keller. Georgia Southern looking for its first bowl victory, and their 3 attempts with Clay Helton. We talked about Sam Houston's defense last week. Look for them to try and make the difference here for Sam Houston. They've only allowed 17 points once in the last 6 games. I think this was a toss-up for me, but wait, is it a sweep if I go with Georgia Southern here?
It is.
It is.
Can't let it happen. I'm going with Sam Houston.
All right.
All right, moving into December 20th here, we have the Cure Bowl. It is Jacksonville State taking on Ohio. A nooner game here. Andy, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, 2 really talented G5 teams here, 2 conference champions squaring off in this one. Also 2 teams that have lost their head coach. Tim Albin from Ohio is heading to Charlotte. And like I mentioned earlier, Rishrod heading back to West Virginia. No word, or I couldn't find anything on if these guys are coaching the bowl game. I don't think they are, though. Both of these teams absolutely dominated their respective championship games, so this will be a fun one to watch. Ohio beat Miami of Ohio by 35, and Jacksonville won by 40, as we talked about earlier. Parker Navarro is the most electric player in this game, the quarterback for the Bobcats. I look for him to have a big game with his legs. 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 through the air. The Bobcats win. 11 wins for Ohio this year.
All right, Tom.
Look, Ohio really caught me by surprise against Miami of Ohio. It was definitely disappointing because I had Miami, Ohio on my card last week. But Parker Navarro played well, 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiver. I like the Bobcats to win this one here and cover that 3-point spread.
Yeah, Ohio comes into this one. First MAC championship since 1968. I am old, but even I was not born when they took that title home. So yeah, Tim Albin obviously taking the job with Charlotte. Another scenario where you don't know how the team is gonna come out without their head coach that they've been riding and dying for all season long. Jacksonville State, they won the Conference USA Championship under Rich Rod, obviously in the mix for the West Virginia job. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a running game battle that decides this one. Jacksonville State, running back Trey Stewart, we talked about him last week, 1,600 yards, 23 touchdowns. And then Ohio on the other side, obviously they have Parker Navarro, who can take off on his feet, but Anthony Tice II, he went over 1,000 yards as well this season. So this is going to be a fun one to watch, especially if you like the ground game. But I'm going to lean Ohio here as well. Next up, also December 20th, we have the Gasparilla Bowl. It is Florida taking on Tulane. A lot of green in this one. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, so this will be another fun one. We have Tulane and Florida here. So Tulane 9-4, Florida 7-5. Interesting here, guys. Florida, they're riding a 3-game winning streak after people were calling for Billy Napier to be fired at certain points this year. He certainly seems to have found his answer at the quarterback position, right? DJ Lagway has been awesome and emerge as a potential star in the SEC. The Gators are huge favorites over the 9-4 Green Wave, which might surprise a couple people. But Tulane, remember, guys, they just got dismantled by Army in the AAC championship game. And to make those matters worse, they just lost their starting quarterback, Darian Mensah, to the portal. I believe he is committed to Duke, if I am not mistaken. I could be wrong on that one. Florida has the upper hand in the QB matchup here and in the game, in my opinion. Give me the Gators.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, Mensah has in fact committed to Duke over the last 24 hours. So Tulane is an important player down. And, Florida right now, yeah, they've been on a winning streak, but they have some negative noise. We know about Jack Pyburn news, transferring after demands of all this third down playing time all the time.
$45K a month. Jesus.
NIL's getting out of hand. Some people are going to say NIL is the worst thing that can happen in college sports, but here we are. Florida, Tulane, back and forth we go. However, the game is in Florida in Brian McCardle's lovely town of Tampa. And give me the Gators.
Yeah, this the NIL and opt-out stories for this one are very, very odd. I still want to know why that third down demand for Pyburn was a thing. Like, it was his agent like whispering in his ear, like, "Oh, teams are looking at you, but they're questioning how you do on third down, and you just demand that." Very wild to see. But yeah, obviously the big miss out here for Tulane is Darian Mensah enters the transfer portal. I saw a few coaches in the past 2 days. Obviously, he was not what caused it, but saying that the transfer portal needs to not open until after bowl season. Even if the kids don't want to play, it just makes everything like super wild. And they need to, replan their whole attack, especially if you're one of the earlier bowl games in the first week here. So, but yeah, he's out for this game. He'll be moving on. That's not what you want against a Florida team that has been trending upwards at the end of the season. Like you said, Nate, Coach Napier was on the hot seat there for a while. They're looking for an 8-win season though. Quarterback DJ Lagway still getting his legs underneath him, but he's done well enough here. I think without Mensah, Tulane's just going to struggle way too much, and Florida's going to cruise in this game. We'll give like a participation medal here for running back Mekhi Hughes of Tulane. He's going to get probably an even bigger load now than he was probably expecting with Mensah out. But during the season, he had 1,372 yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. So he's been very productive. Don't think he's going to be productive enough to beat the Gators here, though. So I'm going Florida. I mean, it's an effective home game for Florida. Like you said, it's in Tampa. Correct. We got so many Gator fans here. Next up, moving into December 23rd, we have the Myrtle Beach Bowl. It is UTSA taking on Coastal Carolina. It's an early one, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, this is just a home game for Coastal Carolina. Yes. These are 2 6-6 teams here looking to end the year on the high note. Also, two teams that don't necessarily play the best defense, as they're both giving up 30-plus points per game. I think we have all the makings of a shootout on our hands here, fellas. The difference could be which defense actually wants to make a couple stops in this game. UTSA has a McCown under center. That's enough for me. Give me the Roadrunners.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, look, I'd really love to ride that coastal wave. Tim Beck, their head coach, has named Ted Hudson the starting quarterback for the bowl game. I do not know who Ted Hudson is. So based off that information, give me UTSA because I know who Owen McCown is. Can't say the same for Ted.
Yeah, UTSA, they've won 4 of their last 6 games just to get bowl eligible. So just sneaking in there. And yeah, like you said, Owen McCown, the notable name of those two QBs, he had 3,170 yards, 24 touchdowns. To just 9 interceptions. So he's had a strong season at QB. The Chanticleers, they lost 4 of their last 6 games, so they are one of those teams trending downward as the season has gone on. Like Andy said, it's basically a home game for the Chanticleers, but I think UTSA takes them down. They played pretty good for most of the season, especially down the stretch, and they gave Army a really close game, a really close call there. So I'm going to go with UTSA as well. Next up, we have the famous Idaho Potato Bowl and maybe the wildest bowl graphic ever. You got Santa, you got a human potato, and just a stack of potatoes and fries here. So well done to this social media team for actually trying, unlike some of these other bowl game graphics. But yeah, Fresno State taking on Northern Illinois. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, so the story for me in this one, fellas, is going to be the Huskies run game. Whoa! Let me start again. So the story is going to be the Huskies run game versus the Bulldogs run defense. NIU relies heavily on the run this year, averaging 41.8 rush attempts per game, to go along with 208 rush yards, while Fresno State's only given up 137 rush yards per game defensively. That's good for third in the Mountain West. Also staying on Fresno State, Mikey Keene, Brian McCardle's guy, is always a threat to push the ball down the field, averaging over 240 yards passing per game. I'm going to go with the Huskies here. I think they run the ball, control the tempo, and they take this one. Fresno State's just been too up and down this year for my liking. Give me Northern Illinois.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. I know Brian's a Mikey Keene fan, but I'm going with Thomas Hammock and the Huskies for obvious reasons. I love that head coach. I think he's very, very smart. If he can knock off Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame, I want to see him and his Huskies finish with an 8-win season.
All right, yeah, I figured you might have a pretty specific pick on that one. Fresno State, they finished 6-6 under interim coach Tim Skipper. Mikey Keene, ex-CCF, as the boys have said. I like him, but he's no longer with us. He led the Mountain West with 2,892 passing yards. Northern Illinois, consistent after that Week 2 victory at Notre Dame. It was a really, really good win, but it's almost like they used up all their magic in that Week 2 victory. So it's been up and down for them. I think, both teams honestly are shaky. I'll agree. Fresno State particularly shaky down the stretch, but to me, their questionable losses were against better competition. So I'm going to go with Fresno State here. But I think this will be an interesting one to watch for sure. Next up, December 24th, we have the Hawaii Bowl. I can think of worse places to be on Christmas Eve there. It's San Jose State taking on USF. Andy, give us your thoughts on this matchup.
Yeah, so this should be a fun one in Hawaii. USF's head coach, Alex Galesh, he's actually a former Illinois assistant. He actually lived in my neighborhood when he lived here in Champaign. And my sister used to babysit his kids back in the day. She's still close with him, still talks with his wife all the time. So I'm going to be biased a little bit. I'm going to take the Bulls here. USF, they've averaged over 415 yards of offense, while SJSU is giving up 389 defensively. Give me USF, and definitely a biased little homer pick here. But
all right, Tom.
Yeah, Hawaii Bowl, it's going to be interesting. This is very, very cool for Nick Nash. He has accepted an invite to the Hula Bowl out in Hawaii. I know Notre Dame's starting long snapper went there years ago. Nash this year has been phenomenal. 104 catches, almost 1,400 receiving yards, and 16 scores. Bold prediction. I think he's next year's Puka Nacua in the NFL. Based off that, I'm going with San Jose State in this one.
Okay. San Jose State can get to 8 wins here under first-year head coach Ken Nui. Almost butchered that very badly. Nui Matalololo. But keep an eye on there. Yeah, it's a mouthful. Keep an eye on Biletnikoff finalist Nick Nash. He's the star of this game, honestly. 104 catches for 1,382 yards, 16 touchdowns to go with it. If he plays the game, he's one of those players who, he might have family agents, etc., whispering in his ear to sit this one out. But yeah, as far as South Florida goes, they've won 4 of their last 6 games. Running back Kelly Joyner Jr., he had 766 yards and 11 touchdowns on just 110 carries. So a touchdown every 10 touches there for him, while averaging 7 yards per carry. I think I got to go with the homers here, even though they're our rival. Keep it in state as they do. So I'm going to take the Bulls here. But I think this will also be a fun one to watch. Moving on to December 26th. We're skipping Christmas because obviously there are no games then. You should be enjoying Christmas with your families. December 26th, it's the Game Above Sports Bowl, Toledo versus Pitt. Andy, what's your pick here?
Yeah, so I'm not sure Toledo's going to have enough in this one, fellas. I'm most concerned with the Rockets' red zone defense and how they'll match up with the Panthers. Pitt is converting on 88.1% of their red zone trips this season, while the Rockets defense has allowed a score on 88.9% of their opponents' red zone trips this season. Give me the Panthers because it sounds like as long as they get the ball within the 20-yard line, they are going to score.
All right, Tom?
It's been a tale of 2 seasons for Pittsburgh in the ACC. They started 7-0. They finished 0-5. That's not where you want to be as a football team. Narduzzi knows that. Holstein knows that. They've had a lot of issues this season. I am a fan of Tucker Gleason, but this is the Game Above Sports Bowl. I think Pittsburgh finishes a game above Toledo in the final 2024 standings.
Love it. You warned us the puns were coming. I still don't know when they're coming. Panthers, they struggled on offense in the second half of the season, but defensively they've been doing okay despite their struggles with the record. Let's say the wins and losses. Led by Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles. Are they going to generate a lot of turnovers? It's a one-off game. Those two have been super good down the stretch for Pitt, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to really turn the tides here. The Rockets, on the other hand, they've averaged 10.5 points in their last 2 games. That is not great. So, like I said, one-off game, maybe no special plays from the defensive leaders there, but they just can't get the offense going. Pitt's the better team here. They have lost all 5 of their last 5 games, but I don't think they lose this one. They turn it around and finish the season with a bowl win over Toledo. Next up, we have the Rate Bowl. It used to be the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, just the Rate Bowl now. It is Kansas State versus Rutgers. Andy, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, you got two teams here that really like to pound the rock on offense, right? Looks for Rutgers to have a heavy dose of Kyle Monangai. I guess that is if he decides to play, he very well could opt out and prepare for the draft. If he is on the field, I think he'll get a heavy dose of action. He's got over 1,200 rush yards on the season. And let's not forget, Kansas State is the number 18 rush offense in the country this year. They really like to run the ball as well. They've got a good quarterback, Avery Johnson. He's young. He's got the ability to hurt you with his legs and his arm. He's thrown for 2,571 yards to go along with 22 touchdowns to 9 picks. He's also rushed for 524 yards and 6 scores. As long as he can limit the mistakes, which he has made a few of them this year, he's a young guy. He's still learning. I think the Wildcats take this game.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, look, Avery Johnson and DJ Giddens have been consistent for most of the year. Brendan Mott on the defensive side, 8.5 sacks. He'll cause problems for Rutgers and their offensive line. Monangai is great, but like Andy said, I'm not sure he's going to play. He's the identity of their offense, and if Ethan Kaliakmanis is forced to go out there and try to win this game, it's not going to work. He's completing under 55% of his passes. That is not a good completion rate. This is the Rate Bowl, so give me Kansas State.
Yeah, listen, if they can no longer guarantee the rates here, I can't guarantee you that I'm going to watch this one. No, I think I actually will have this one on the TV. It's going to be a really interesting battle of the big uglies here, a line of scrimmage battle. Kansas State, they average over 204 yards rushing per game. Rutgers on the other side, they average 176 yards rushing per game. Kansas State QB Avery Johnson, he had 2,500 yards and 22 touchdowns through the air. Up and down season, but still fairly good. Obviously, the big player, as you guys mentioned, Kyle Monangai. Is he going to opt out? I mean, this game doesn't seem interesting enough for me if I'm him to play it, but some of these guys, love to finish it out with their teammates, so we'll see what happens there. I think I'm going to lean Kansas State here, but I will say don't be surprised if Rutgers wins. They seem to come alive in the bowl games. They're 6-2 in bowl games under Greg Schiano, so should be an interesting one here. Next up, December 26th as well, rounding out the day, we have Bowling Green taking on Arkansas State in the 68 Ventures Bowl. Andy, give me your thoughts and let me know if you know what the hell 68 Ventures is.
Yeah, I don't know. No idea. No idea. Bowling Green's defense, they've done a pretty good job of keeping people out of the end zone this year. They're only allowing 20.3 points per game. I think Arkansas State could be in for a long day if they're not able to get things going through the air, right? Falcons are only allowing 181 pass yards per game so far this year to their opponents. I like BGSU to control this game and win fairly easily.
All right, Tom.
So 68 Ventures is a real estate investment firm in Alabama.
Okay.
Daphne, Alabama, to be specific. That means nothing to any of us three. But I will say Bowling Green has a top 2 tight end in this year's upcoming NFL draft, Harold Fannin Jr. 100 receptions, 1,342 yards, and 9 touchdown receptions. Do not sleep on this man. Please don't declare for the NFL draft just yet. I want to see him play with Bowling Green one more time, even though he's likely declaring. Look, this Bowling Green State, guys, they played Penn State and Texas A&M in one possession games. Both of those games came down to one possession. This kid's going to be an All-American. He's up there with Tyler Warren. I can easily see him getting drafted by the Los Angeles Chargers. All in all, Arkansas State, they've had a couple good games this season early on. Bowling Green has been the more steady team. I'm going to roll with them on this one. BGSU.
All right. Thank you for informing us on. I was going to ask you as well if you knew what 68 Ventures was. I didn't have time to look it up, but I will say their logo for the bowl, they have a giant battleship cruiser. So I'm not sure how that relates to real estate. But yeah, Falcons, they've won 5 of their last 6 games here. I don't know why I put my player of the game as Harold Fannin Jr. Thought I could catch Tom off guard, but of course he has one of the top tight ends in his notes here. But yeah, tight end Harold Fannin Jr., he had 100 catchers for those 1,300 plus yards and 9 TDs this season. At QB, Connor Bazelak, he's been all over the country. He was at Mizzou. He was at Indiana. He had 2,650 yards, 15 touchdowns. I think he's going to be hooking up with Fannin Jr. I think he will play one last time here in this game. Bowling Green, yeah, they are 1-7 in the last 8 games. But like Tom said, stiff competition. They played people close, who was, uh, at the very least, top tier, maybe not elite, but top tier teams. They're playing them close. So I'm going to go Bowling Green in this game. Next up, moving into the 27th, we have the Armed Forces Bowl, singular. Oklahoma taking on Navy at noon. Andy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I mean, the big question here is, can the midshipmen run the ball effectively against this stout Oklahoma run defense? The Sooners are only giving up 105 rush yards per game this season. I know the triple option that Navy brings is a different challenge, and Blake Horvath at quarterback can hurt you with his arm if Navy does decide to throw the ball. But I think Oklahoma will be ready for this, even with no Jackson Arnold under center. I think the Sooners are the clear favorites here. Give me Oklahoma.
All right, Tom.
Look, I saw this Navy team get blown out at MetLife Stadium. I want to wait and see how they play against Army, but at the time of this recording, Army-Navy has not happened yet. I know Jackson Arnold is transferring for Oklahoma. They did win against Alabama. I will say I think Alabama more just dropped a big fat L than Oklahoma necessarily playing well. I think it's a combination of both, so I'm going to give them a little bit of credit. Blake Horvath, really, really good quarterback, in my opinion. He is multi-dimensional, 13 rushing touchdowns, 11 passing. And Eli Heidenreich, boys, this boy could move. I've been accused of not supporting the troops enough this year. Surprise, surprise. In the Navy, the midshipman with a monster upset.
I love it. Yeah, Sooners defense here. They've allowed only 2.9 yards per attempt this season. That's led by Danny Stussman. He's got 109 tackles. The kid's an absolute stud on that defense. Navy quarterback Braxton Woods said he replaced Blake Horvath. He went for 125 yards and 3 touchdowns in the season finale there. It's been a weird season for the Sooners, but they did get that big win over Alabama. I think that's revitalized them a bit. I think they're the clear better team here, so I'm going to get my pick in quickly before I get accused of hating the troops. I'm going with the Sooners. Next up, we have the Birmingham Bowl. It is Vanderbilt versus Georgia Tech. This is one of my favorite matchups on this entire card. I don't know how we got lucky enough to get these two teams together. But Andy, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I wrote the same thing down. I said this is actually one of the best matchups of the bowl season, in my opinion. It's going to be so fun. Diego football versus Haynes King. Take the over. I don't even care what the number is. I haven't looked at the total at all, but I'm hammering the over. There's no expected opt-outs for Vandy. That is not the case for the Yellow Jackets. They've already seen backup quarterback Zach Pyron, receivers Eric Singleton Jr. and Leo Blackburn, offensive lineman Corey Robinson II and Jordan Brown, defensive lineman Horace Lockett and Uche Elo, and DB Tay Seymour all hit the portal. I'm going to go one last ride with Diego Pavia. I'm going to take in the doors. Give me Vanderbilt.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, look, this is going to be a great game. This is the best game in the first slate of bowl games this season up until you get to the college football playoff, in my opinion. You know, you could argue Syracuse, Washington State, USC, Texas A&M. I'm going Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech. Pavia named SEC co-newcomer of the year. I don't think Pavia is officially done yet. After this season, he can enter and declare, but I mean, I'm not sure if he has another year of eligibility.
I thought this was his last one, but I'm not sure.
It's possible, but now who knows, right? Alan Bowman just got an 8th year, gentlemen, with Oklahoma State. So Haynes King's only thrown 1 pick all year. He has not opted out yet, as with my knowledge. They took Georgia to 8 overtimes. This is a really, really tough kid. They beat Miami as well. But Andy mentioned a lot of core pieces that are missing for Georgia Tech that I don't think should be washed away here. So when your head's in a little bit of doubt, you pick the SEC. Vanderbilt wins in a tight one.
Yeah, so this one is definitely going to be on my screen. Birmingham Bowl is usually a bit of a stinker matchup-wise. Not their fault. That's just, where they are in the order of picking teams. But yes, super fun one here. Obviously, you got Georgia Tech's Haynes King, who Tom just mentioned does protect the ball. Only 1 turnover there against Vanderbilt's Diego Pavia. He's been a fan favorite. He's been a show favorite all season long. Will the Commodores be able to slow down the Georgia Tech rushing attack? They average 186 yards on the ground. That's almost 5 yards per carry. I don't think so, but I do agree with Andy's very firm statement to just take the over, whatever it is, because even if they score, I think Pavia is going to take Vanderbilt to an even higher score on the card here. My favorite stat in this one is that both teams have protected the football well during the season, as I just said, with Haynes King's turnover stat there. Vanderbilt just 7 turnovers all season. Georgia Tech only had 8. So should be an interesting one. Defenses, even if they are up to the task, maybe won't be able to pry the ball from the other team. So expect points and expect a lot of them. I'm going to go with Vanderbilt here. Next up, we have the Liberty Bowl. It is Arkansas versus Texas Tech. This is your 7 p.m. game. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, another interesting one, fellas. We might need an interesting counter, not just on me tonight, but on all of us. Tech beat both ASU and ISU, both teams that played in the Big 12 championship game. Arkansas beat Tennessee, who's going to the playoff. So these are two teams that have won some big games this year, but by and large, it's been pretty disappointing, right? Arkansas at 6-6, Texas Tech was 8-4. So, not awful for their standards, right? But I'm sure, they want to be playing for championships. I think the big question for Texas Tech here is with Taj Brooks. Do we see the Red Raider back in this game? 7th in the nation with 1,505 yards on the year. He only needs 23 yards to break a school record. Is that enough to get him to play in this game? The Hogs are going to be missing a ton of pieces. They've had a few players declare for the draft. Tom was talking about earlier how they have 25 total players in the portal already. It's insane. Give me Texas Tech. I have no idea who the fuck's playing for Arkansas or how Sam Pittman has a job still, but I will take the Red Raiders.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, the Hogs, the 2025 loss to the portal. Sam Pittman should be fired. Jaquindon Jackson has declared for the NFL draft, so make that 26 guys at least leaving after this season. However, there is a silver lining. Quarterback Taylon Green announces he will return to Arkansas for his final season of eligibility. And edge rusher Landon Jackson was named second-team All-SEC. However, Texas Tech, they've been impressive this season. Baron Morton at the quarterback position. He's played well. We don't know if Taj Brooks is going to play. Josh Kelly is a dynamic receiver. For Morton, considering all these guys play, fellas, give me Texas Tech.
Yeah, Taj Brooks, obviously huge player here for the Red Raiders. Led the Big 12 with 286 rushing attempts, so he was getting a full load all season long, 1,500 yards from those touches. Red Raiders 3-1 against the spread as an underdog this season. Don't know if they're going to be still the underdog in this game as the entire Arkansas team just, opts out of the game. We'll see how that spread changes as time goes on. But yeah, Arkansas, they lost 3 of their last 4 games. I do agree the Pittman project has not worked out here. Taylon Green, not sure if him returning is a great thing. Their quarterbacks, him and KJ Jefferson, who's now at UCF, just that strategy has not worked out, just getting these massive guys and hoping that they can barrel through everyone, a la Cam Newton. Cam Newton had an arm. KJ Jefferson had an arm, but isn't accurate. Taylon Green, little less of an arm, also not very accurate. So we'll see. If Taj Brooks and Baron Morton, the Texas Tech QB play, I think they're going to roll very easily in this one. Baron Morton there with 3,300 plus yards of production through the air. So they've been really, really good. How many yards did he say Brooks needed, Andy? Like 23?
23, yeah.
Maybe this is a scenario where he comes in for like the first
Comes
quarter.
in for a series.
Yeah. But maybe that'll be...
Yeah,
maybe that'll be enough to get a touchdown on the board there, put Texas Tech ahead. But yeah, I'm going Red Raiders regardless here. Next up, we have the Holiday Bowl. It is Washington State taking on Syracuse, your 8 p.m. game here. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, you got two teams here that really finished their seasons on different sides of the momentum spectrum, right? Syracuse with that thrilling win over Miami to knock them out of the playoffs, knock them out of the ACC championship game. And then you had Wazoo dropping a home game to lowly Wyoming at home. Not great. Fran Brown's getting a shower after this one, boys. Give me the orange.
All right, Tom.
Quote unquote from quarterback Kyle McCord, I'm playing. A 2-word response. A guy who didn't have to play in this game. Shout out to him. He'll be playing in the Holiday Bowl. 4,300 pass yards on the season. 29 touchdowns, 12 picks. Definition of a gunslinger right there, especially up there in northern New York. Let me tell you something. This is the best New York has as far as college football goes. This is the best the northeast region of the country has right now as far as college football, guys. We got UConn up here, UMass. We got everything. It's bad. Buffalo, you name it. He's got a couple receivers with 7 touchdowns each. Arande Gadsden has transitioned very well from wide receiver to tight end this season. I think Fran Brown has done a phenomenal job. Syracuse is the reason why Clemson is partially in the college football playoff. The Cougars have lost 3 straight games. John Mateer might enter the transfer portal before this game even happens. If he does enter the portal, Oklahoma listed as possible suitors for him.
Ooh,
So
really?
going from a G5 to a power 4, that would be insane for John Mateer. I hope he gets that opportunity. Give me Syracuse in this game.
I love the shade thrown at the Pac-12 there. Yeah, Calvin Cord obviously has led the FBS with 4,326 passing yards. He's been an absolute animal, as we said. Fran Brown after the Thanksgiving show, thanking Ohio State for giving them Mr. McCord there because of all the production he's been able to bring the Orange. But yeah, if Mateer plays, this gets really interesting. If he doesn't, I think this is a blowout in favor of Syracuse. Obviously, that QB battle is super interesting if Mateer does play. He was fifth in the FBS with 330 total yards per game. So, yeah, if that rumor is true that he's looking to transfer, I think I'm just going to go Q's straight up here. I mean, they're looking for their 10th win here. They took down a really good Miami team. I mean, they've struggled, but still a really good team. So, yeah, I'm going to lean with Mr. McCord here, Mr. Brown, and the Syracuse Orange. It's our last bowl here, boys, in our part 1 show. It is the Las Vegas Bowl, December 27th, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. It's a late one. USC taking on Texas A&M. Andy, who do you like to win this one?
Yeah, so you have the Trojans here coming into this game. They started off really hot, right? They had that win over LSU. Miller Moss looked like he was going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the country, and then they kind of just fell off a cliff, right? Texas A&M also started off the year with a certain quarterback that is no longer with the program. So Wegman is gone. He actually committed to Houston. Miller Moss is in the portal after getting benched. Texas A&M, they were in the thick of the SEC race for most of the year. Now they've got Marcel Reese as the established quarterback. I think they're more equipped to win this game than the Trojans. But I will say, is coming in, Jade Mayava for the Trojans. 3 games as the starter, 2-1, 840 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Apparently his team is discussing and asking for an NIL type of raise to come back to the Trojans next year. He wants to come back, he said. He was asked directly. And he said this is the place to be, but the Trojans have a 5-star quarterback coming in next year, so you don't know what the future holds, but it looks like he will be the starter for the Trojans in this game with Jake Jensen as their backup. He is in the portal, by the way. Give me Texas A&M to win the game. I just don't trust this USC team.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, Wegman to Houston, former starter for them, turned into backup as the season progressed early on. I think Wegman's performance against my Notre Dame Fighting Irish might have did it in for him. Marcel Reed has been a great story this year. He's the new sheriff in town. Mike Elko has done an outstanding job with the Aggies this season. Maivia, valiant effort the last couple of games of the season for USC. I don't think he's got enough here to pull this off. Although this line is very interesting. As of right now, USC is favored by 3.
Ooh.
Really?
At least that's what I saw on ESPN when doing notes for this game, which I don't agree with, by the way. But maybe they're using Notre Dame as a measuring stick. Both these teams lost to Notre Dame. There is one commonality in this one. The winner of the losers is Texas A&M.
Wow, I must have missed that line. I told you guys pre-show I was looking at probably changing up my parlay, but yeah, that might have to go on the card for sure. Yeah, as far as the game goes, though, Trojans are 14-11 in their last 2 seasons. The Lincoln Riley project is looking to be burning out. Texas A&M, they've got a physical rushing attack. Marcel Reed finally is at the helm for good. He'll be joined by Amari Daniels in that rushing game. Yeah, Jade Mayava, he does have a 60.8 completion percentage for the Trojans in his 3 starts. Don't know if that's enough to make it a good game. I mean, he's been performing at least a little better than Miller Moss, but I'm not sure how helpful that's going to be against a pretty stout Texas A&M defense. If they can hold the run a little bit, maybe they can get an upset, but I don't see that happening. Texas A&M has been pretty good. They played Texas really close. Obviously, Texas in the playoff. They did have a bad loss to Notre Dame in a 4 overtime game. A loss to South Carolina. They're pretty good. And then just one last note here. We're talking about who we don't trust. It's not just Miller Moss. Another one of their top recruits in the recent seasons, Mekhi Lemon, has had an average season, basically his entire career there so far. 46 receptions, 665 yards. Not bad, but only 3 TDs. So they just haven't been able to put it together there at Southern California. So I'm going to take Texas A&M here to win this one as well. That'll move us into our parlay party. No rules again this week. We're in the holiday season. We're in the bowl season. So we can put whatever we want on the card. Andy, give us your card for this bowl season. Did you stick to just the games from this part 1, or is it all bowl games here?
So I actually have two games from this Saturday.
Okay.
I have a pick for the Army-Navy game. I'm taking the over 39.5 in Army-Navy. We have two of the better service academy offenses we've seen in quite a long time here, hammering the over. I'm taking Jackson State money line in the Cricket Celebration Bowl, which is also this Saturday. And then after that, I have Memphis -4.5, which would be Tuesday, UNLV money line, which would be Wednesday. So few days span here for this one. 4 picks plus 1409, $10 to win 140.92. Daddy needs some new shoes. Let's go.
Not gonna lie, I'm loving this card. I'm really loving this card. Tom,
See, you guys have said that multiple times this year, and then it's fucking either gone 0 of 4, 1 of 3, 3 and 1. Just so I'd actually prefer if you guys tell me you fucking hate it.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I've said I've liked your cards before. I've never loved one before. This is like
I get a Brian loved.
It's like a straight up McDonald's. I'm loving it type.
And you were hot. You won last week, so I think I have to respect that.
I'm doing okay. Tom, read us through your parlay here.
No comment on Andy's card. I will say that. So, for me, yeah, I probably should have thought about this because I know we're doing another show, with the playoff games.
It doesn't matter. I was just asking Andy for the heck of it.
Notre Dame -5.5 at -162. Memphis -4.5 at -110. I love the culture Memphis has brought, by the way. Ohio money line, they screwed me over last time. They won't screw me over this time, -166. Kansas State money line, -235. Texas A&M -3.5 against USC. And NIU -2.5. That's plus 23.94 odds, $10 for 239.41.
Love it. Next up, got mine. This is for sure going to change, especially after seeing Andy's and the Texas A&M spread that Tom gave us. But yeah, so far, as of recording this, it's going to be 3-teamer. Pitt -7 versus Toledo. Yeah, they struggled down the stretch, but they're a much better team than this Toledo Rockets team. I think they could win that game by a touchdown easily. Oklahoma -10 versus Navy. I will say, I'm going to interject on myself. I wanted to put the Army-Navy in, but DraftKings was not letting me put a parlay together with that game. I tried to put it in my last week parlay, but they didn't let me do that either. So yeah, Navy... As far as service academies goes, yes, they are having a good season. Oklahoma, though, I think can easily win that game by 10 points. I think I sold a few points there, maybe like half a point or two. And then lastly, South Alabama -6 versus Western Michigan. South Alabama, they can score. Western Michigan, they've been all right. I think I bought about a half point here just to keep it in 6. That comes out to plus 484. Going to put $25 on it this week. That's 25 to win 146.06. And as Andy said, I was a little hot last week, so I'm going to cover everyone's parlay for this show. A little holiday action there.
Nice.
But don't change from $10 to $1,000. I don't know if I can cover that.
Oh yeah, no, I was actually I misspoke in mine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a typo. Okay.
Yeah. It was a couple of digits there.
But that's gonna wrap up our part 1 bowl show. We will have part 2 coming at you. That'll be the games from the 28th through the rest of the season, and in between, sandwiched right in there in the middle, will be our first round CFP playoff games. But enjoy this first round. I believe that was 19 games on this slate, and we will catch everyone back here in about a week and a half time to round out the bowl games. And if you want to catch the playoff preview, that'll be coming at you next week. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to check down in the description for Mr. Andy Hopper's show and Mr. Tom Scavetta's show. Their links will be down there. Give them a like and a follow. Enjoy the games. See everyone here, same time, same place next week.